Hey guys, Fishmonger here. I just bought two more GTX 1060s for my Bahama Mama mining rig, so that actually puts me at 13 1060s. So I plan on converting. I keep looking to my rig. Plan on converting my rig to a 13 times 1060 rig, and then all the leftover cards I have, I'm just gonna kind of throw in my secondary rig. And what I actually have been doing is kind of searching on Reddit and checking out the GPU mining subreddit for some ideas, because everyone posts a lot of cool pictures of their rigs and stuff. Like here's a 12 time 570 rig, and it's all just the cards spread out. And I was actually thinking of going this route because it's just a simple way to kind of set the rig up and build something to make it work. And then I saw somebody else here did a, where was it? Here's another 12 time 1060 rig, where basically it's 2 rows of 6, which is also kind of neat. It's the two tier, like all stacked up kind of approach, and it seems like a lot of people kind of go with that way. But I didn't want to build anything that was typical. I wanted to just kind of make something a little bit atypical, and hopefully have it succeed. So I started scratching some stuff up on paper here, and let me just make a quick note so you can kind of see. This would be the front view, and this is the side view. I don't know how well this is going to show up, but so this is kind of where I'm going with this. Let's see how this comes out. Okay, so for the front view with the rig, basically if you're looking at it from the front, let me see if I can get a pointer. So I would have, this is my motherboard down here. On the bottom rack with my regular ATX PSU. On a little bit higher up would be a second row that's going to hold my server power supplies, which would then be fed into 2 racks of GTX 1060s. One will be a row of 6 and one will be a row of 7. The thing that I think is interesting about this is if you look at the side, where's that? If you look at from the side view, what I plan on doing is basically making it so all the cards are facing up and down, right? So the tops of the cards, are where you normally plug in the monitors, is actually towards the top over here. This is so weird to point with my pen, I apologize. So this would be like the top where you normally plug in the video card actual ports and stuff like that. And the bottom here is where the risers would be, okay? And this is where you'd plug in the USB power and then the PCI power. And then, for instance, the supplemental PCI power on these cards would be here, so it would kind of come down and then go over into the supplemental. This is the server power supply, and then here's like another server power supply, which would be feeding up into the supplemental power here. The thing that I think is neat about this is because the risers are going to be both mounted to the same piece of wood. So I'm going to have back-to-back risers mounted to the same wood, so it should make the assembly and the math kind of easy here. So again, from the side view here, you can see I got some wood here and wood here running lengthwise, and then it goes up into like some wood that's going to be supporting these the power supplies. And my cabling is going to be pretty short because I'll be able to run the USB cables from the motherboard here up through the middle. I mean, obviously this isn't to scale, but it's going to go up through the middle here and then go straight to all the risers. So all the riser connections are going to be all in here, and then I'm just going to have short runs of the power supplies from the server power supplies to the actual power, just kind of going up a couple inches right to the cards. And so obviously, like if you look at it from the side, and the way I drew this is just you can see like this would be like a power cord going up, whoops, and then over and then going to a card. But ideally what it would be is if this is where the breakout board is, these would just kind of go up and just go to the closest cards. And then what I would have is, like, let's say this here, this power supply here is like this one, okay? The one behind it would actually be turned the other direction. Whoa. So the breakout board would be like on this side, and I'd have it power the cards on this side. So I think it could potentially work. I'm looking at a width of around a total width of around 19 to 20 inches for all my stuff, and then basically a depth of about 10 and a quarter. All right, because this is basically the how much the cards take up versus the wood in the middle, and then the cards for the second row, and then a height of, where's my hands in the way? A height of around 19 and a half inches. So it's going to be kind of a wide, tall rig that's not very deep, but I mean 10 quarter inches. It's not like this thing's gonna be tipping over or anything like that. So anyway, I I thought it was kind of neat idea because, you know, the way the 1060s run, the cooling fans, or the fins on all of them, run the length of the card. So by turning the cards up this way, so they're actually, you know, this direction, the fans that hit them to cool will be blowing up and down. And my goal is to have intake on the bottom of cold air that blows up over everything and then basically exits out the top for the hot air. So mounting the cards that direction, instead of just blowing the wind, you know, all the wind and everything horizontally, it'll actually make all the air flow vertically, you know, hopefully increasing the cooling factor, because cool air is coming from the bottom and then it heats leaving the top because, you know, hot air rises. So it's just kind of natural in that sense. So I started playing around. I mean, just to give you an idea of where I kind of came up with this idea, as I said, I just drew something up in like CAD real quick, and I said, if I had all the cards, and these are actually drawn to scale, so this is like looking at the GPU from like the front, and like that would be like the riser or the little plug and all that stuff. So if I were to have them all set up and then give myself a gap of about a ½ inch in between each one, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually kind of a lot, because the ones I have right now are about a ½ inch to 5/8 of an inch, and they're cooled fine. I mean, with 80 watts on a card, it doesn't really get very hot, so cooling's not really an issue. So I said I would need 26 inches in width. And, you know, if you looked at the width of my, this is the server power supply with the breakout board over here. And then this is like the, this is the motherboard with like the CPU cooler and stuff, just for reference. And then this is my ATX PSU. You know, if I were to build some kind of really long thing, I could, and it just, I don't know, I didn't want like a really long rig. If anything, it would be easier for me to put this somewhere, I think, if I were to take up a lot of, or not a lot of floor space, and just kind of go horizontally. So, again, when I started looking at this, I started drawing this and kind of come up with some ideas for that kind of tall rig, like I was kind of showing here. So this is basically to scale what one side of the rig that I'm looking to build would look like. So basically this here is the motherboard, and this is, it should be like 12 inches or whatever. Let's see here. Yeah, so it's like 12 inches for the motherboard there. Hold on, I'm going to get rid of me on the screen real quick. How do I do that? There we go. Okay. So it's 12 inches on the motherboard width, and then basically this is the ATX power supply. It's about 6 inches. This is the server PSU. It's 8 inches, and then the breakout board is like 3.5. So altogether, you're looking at like 11.5. And the width on these pieces, I just made them a nice round number of 20 inches. I figured, you know, instead of just 19, I'll just do 20 and just make the cuts easier. So what I would have, and I didn't draw this from the side yet, I only have this from the front, but you can just kind of picture, well, I'm just going to skedaddle here. So the risers are going to get plugged into the motherboard here. They're going to go up through, because there's going to be two pieces of wood here, because these two power supplies are going to be like front and back. Again, okay. So again, picture this from the side. You have the one server power supply, the other server power supply. There's going to be a gap between them if you look at them from the side. So by looking at them from the front, you know, there's going to be a gap here you just don't see. So the cord will come up, go between them, and then basically plug into the risers. So I don't know if I could draw like a, you know, whatever, like a line. I'll make this fuchsia. Is that fuchsia? It looks like fuchsia. So let's make this like kind of wide. So, you know, you'd have like a cord kind of going like down and then plugged into the motherboard. And then you'd have like, you know, another cord going down and like plugged into the motherboard. And obviously it would be, you know, behind all this stuff. So it would kind of be, you know, in that area. And then as far as the power goes, for, let's pick another color. It's not fuchsia. Let's do like a dark green. So then the server power supply, you know, would basically come in, and I'd have power going into there. And then, like, you know, power going into there. You know, you figure there's going to be at least 4 or like 6 cards that this would be able to plug into, like the ones on the other side also. And then, you know, this other power supply that's flipped the other direction, that's actually behind this. So the breakout board would be like back here behind it. Those power cords would kind of come up and go into like all these over here. So I should have really short runs of power cords. I'm going to bring me back up. I should have really short runs of power cords, and then have really short runs of the USB cables are not really going to be that long. I mean, what's the height? You know, it's only 11 inches. I mean, again, I'm trying to make something that's just nice and cool. and or not cool, small. But by keeping it small, you know, remember like those 40 fans I bought? I'll be able to enclose the sides on this with some paneling or whatever, and then have some intake fans and some exhaust fans at the top, and all the air will basically flow over everything and keep everything nice and cool. So this is kind of where I'm going. And if you look at the height here, again, so it would be like a height of around 19.5 inches, and then pretty much like an overall, well, the width here is 20, but obviously I would have, you know, like there'd be a piece of wood here that would run the height, and a piece of wood here that would run the height. So the actual, you know, width will be, you know, closer to 21 or 22 inches, whatever. It's still pretty small, though. I mean, you figure, here's 20, that's like 22 inches right there, so that's not really that big. I mean, it's pretty much, my current rigs that I have right now are only about 18 inches wide as it is. So I'm only adding like, you know, 2 inches to the width, and I'm going to pack 13 cards in there in a pretty small configuration. So I have most of this kind of drawn out. I'm going to just make some quick notes, check some other dimensions, check things like the cords coming off of the power supply to make sure they're going to be long enough to kind of go up, and I'm pretty sure everything is going to be okay. I don't want this to be like super cramped, but I'm pretty sure I got enough room in this to make it work. And, you know, I bought a whole bunch of wood from the Home Depot, so lo and behold, if I cut something and it's not right, I can always, you know, just recut another piece and whatever. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to start on this, and I'll take some photos and stuff and kind of keep it progressed. And I'll make another video for that to kind of show you how it's going. But this is kind of my idea right now, and this is what I'm going to start rolling with. So let's hope this is successful, because I'd hate to do this and have it suck. So this is Fishmonger. I'm signing out. I'll catch you on the flip side.